Good morning, everyone. Hi, Peggy Hubbard, going live. Installation of Straight Talk. I took a couple of weeks off, had a little vacation, had a great time. Been watching the news and seeing everything that's taken place. And everybody asked when was I going to say something about it today, and here it is. The KKK, ANTIFA, and Black Lives Matter are all hate groups. Anyone that infringes on our right to free speech, as long as you agree with what the left says, then you're okay with them. Now, the other day was very disturbing in Durham, North Carolina, where they actually took matters into their own hands and pulled down a Confederate statue that's been standing for over 115 years. And this reminds me of early Nazism during World War II. If it does not fit their narrative, if it does not fit what they believe in, like Nazi Germany, they pull down statues. Like ISIS, they pull down statues. They are doing the same thing. They are pulling down things that are not pleasant for the Democratic Party. Now, the KKK wanted the statues to stand. They actually had a permit to be at that location. Antifa, just like my situation back in June when I had the rally to save the Confederate statue, they crashed the party. They are a hate group. Now, President Trump did call them out and say that they were equally as to blame for what happened. They had weapons. When we were at Forest Park for the Confederate Monument, they also had weapons. They had a guy walking around with a semi-automatic rifle walking around Forest Park where families come to gather for picnics, and the police stood by in St. Louis and did nothing. They called me names. They called for my death. I played the video. I posted the video of Antifa and Black Lives Matter. They are no better than the Klan. But my problem and situation is this, America, and I'm going to put it out there. For 8 years, President Obama was sat in office. For 8 years, he sat in office. These Confederate statues were not a problem then. Why is it a problem now? Why do they want to remove it? You know why? Because they're doing this to get back at the fact that Trump was elected to office. That's the only reason why they're doing this. 8 years this man sat in office, and those statues were not a thought. All of a sudden, we grow a conscience, and we start pulling down monuments. Antifa is the opposite of the KKK. They wear white, they wear black. They cover their faces and hide. They don't want people to know who they are. If you believe in what you're doing, why hide your face? Now, the KKK came out swinging. They didn't hide their face. They had a permit to be there at that location. Now, I am not condoning what the KKK did. I do not condone what they stand for, not at all. But they had the right to be there like everyone else. Antifa and Black Lives Matter showed up with weapons wanting a fight. We as black people, we have got to get off the plantation. We have got to stop believing the lies. We as black people are just as complicit in slavery as the white people. Not all white people own slaves. Not all black people were slaves. And we got that to the bad. We are refusing to acknowledge that we as black Americans had a hand in slavery. We owned over 3,076 slaves were sold by other black people during the time of the Civil War period. The documentation is there. I put it out on the last video that we were complicit in slavery. Slavery is still going on the coast of Africa today. Your status is based on how many slaves you own in some parts of Africa. It's still going on today. We are still victimizing our own people. We are ignoring the fact that we, here in the United States, during slavery, owned slaves. We sold our own people as well, but yet we whitewash it, pardon the pun, but we whitewashed it away. We want to put all the blame on white America, and it's not fair. How do we stop racism? Stop talking about it. Treat everybody as human beings. Everybody has a story. Everybody had backgrounds of slavery of their ancestors coming over here as indentured servants. The Irish, the Germans, the Polish, the Chinese. Nobody owns the book on slavery. Jews were slaves for thousands and thousands of years. You don't see them throwing it up in everybody's face. The Holocaust Museum in Krakow and Auschwitz still stands today to remind us not to let these atrocities happen again. Nobody is tearing that down. They should stand. These monuments need to stand. And the only reason why the Democrats want to pull this down is because, number one, they want to hide their shame. Number two, they're getting back at Donald Trump, President Trump, for being elected. For the 8 years Obama was in office, this was a non-issue. Now all of a sudden, America has grown a conscience. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Young lady was arrested for pulling down that statue, and rightfully so. She should be charged with vandalism and destruction of property. Slavery was an ugly blemish on the American history in our country. There's no doubt. There were a lot of injustices that were done in this country to every ethnic group in this country. We as black people, we say we forgive, but we leave the handle sticking out of the ground and we pull it up and we use it again against white people. The closest I came to picking cotton was at Walgreens when I picked up a bag. My friends never owned slaves. I never was a slave. I am not suffering. Nothing was done to me personally. So I could not sit up and say, look what they done to me, because I am not a slave. I served this country. I had a career. I made my way. I have faced racism, yes, but I don't hate the race. I hate the ignorance of the person that did that. That is what I hate the most. You don't hate the race. You hate the ignorance of people. There are ignorant white people. There are ignorant black people. There are ignorant Hispanic people. There are ignorant Asian people. There is ignorance across the board. And we're seeing that with Antifa. We're seeing that with the Klan. And we're seeing that with Black Lives Matter. In Chicago this past weekend, over 28 people were shot, 9 dead. I don't see the NAACP. I don't see Al Sharpton. I don't see Jesse Jackson. I don't see the Black Congress or the Black Caucus saying anything about those things. But yet they want to sit up and have a press conference over something that happened in Virginia, and we have people that are dropping dead and being shot to death in the city of Chicago, and nobody says anything about that. 2 women were gunned down in St. Louis this past weekend. Nobody said anything about that. But the black clergy had a press conference about Virginia. Said nothing about the 2 women that died, that were shot to death in the city of St. Louis. They ignored that. Maybe that's the reason why I'm so hated, because I'm telling the truth. I'm putting it out there. Maybe that's why some of the people in the black community, and not all of them, don't like me, because I'm telling the truth. We have got to stop throwing the race card every time we look up. You were never slaves. You don't know anybody that was a slave. You are not suffering. If you are suffering, that suffering is coming from your own hands, by your own doing, by your own inability to get off your ass and do what you need to do. Obey the law. Act like you got some sense. Raise your children. Pick up a book instead of a Jay-Z CD. Teach your children to respect the law. That is what you do. Get off the plantation. Turn off your TV and listen to your children. The news, the media is feeding us garbage. They're telling us nothing but lies. They're telling you exactly what you want to hear just to boost the ratings. Now I'm about to get out of here. I'm getting ready to go to the studio, St. Louis, for the Jamie Allman report in Channel 30, St. Louis. I'm going to be on tonight at 5 and 10, and we're going to discuss this even further. Antifa, Klan, and Black Lives Matter. They are all terrorist groups that are against America. They're anarchists, is what they are. They're a hate group, is what they are. Anybody that does not think the way they do, you are a threat. And to them, I am a threat. To Antifa and Black Lives Matter. I had a man walk up to me in Sturgis, Klan, broad daylight, and said, "Are you that lady who fought for the Confederate statue in Missouri?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." And I saw his vest, and I realized who he was and what he was. He was Klan. But he told me, "I want to shake your hand and tell you thank you. Thank you for standing up." And I was taken aback. A man that is affiliated with the Klan shook my hand in broad daylight and said thank you. I touched someone. I gave him a change of heart. I spoke to this man. If I can reach one person, then I am successful in everything I did and everything that I am doing. That's what it's all about. You bring together, you don't divide. You find common ground to agree, but you can disagree. If you reach one, you can touch one, you can change one. And maybe I changed that man. Maybe I changed his heart for him to reach out to me, shake my hand in broad daylight, and be what he was. That's powerful. That is how it's done. That is how change happens. One at a time. Reach one, touch one, change one. This is Peggy Hubbard giving everyone the straight talk. Please watch me tonight on KDNL, the Jamie Allman Report, on ABC, 5 p.m., 10 p.m. Take care. Take care of each other.